There is a village on Mount Akamine that appears on no map. A place where the sky glows red as if burning, though no flames have ever risen. Some say the night there never ended, that the souls within never found rest. Aya, a young reporter, didn't believe the rumors. But the moment she stepped beneath that blood-red sky, she understood. Some places are not meant for the living. And some fires do not burn flesh, but burn the soul. The story begins the moment Aya crossed the boundary humans were never meant to cross. Chapter 1. The Sky That Never Stopped Burning. The sky above Akamine often turned an odd shade of red at dusk. But what Aya saw that day was something wholly different. It wasn't the crimson of sunset, nor the rosy tint of evening clouds. It was a heavy, blood-like red, dark as a fire that had been compressed for centuries and was ready to explode. It was so intense that it felt as though the air itself was burning. Though strangely, there was no heat. The elders in nearby villages avoided talking about that place. They simply told outsiders that north of Mount Akamine lay a forbidden land, one people should never approach. They said something once happened there, something so terrible the authorities sealed the area, and the villagers packed their belongings and left. But there was never any official record, no disaster reports, no news articles, only vague whispers, smothered by fear. For a journalist like Aya, forsaken places were irresistible. When she heard rumors about the village of the red sky, where the sky allegedly burned for 7 straight nights, she felt compelled to uncover the truth. Curiosity slowly grew into obsession. She longed to know what could make an entire village vanish without a trace. But standing under that blazing red sky, her heart suddenly pounded, an instinct warning her that if she took one more step, she would never be the same. She steadied her breath, turned on her camera, and murmured, "Just an exaggerated story, right?" But deep inside, she knew the thing waiting ahead was not something humans were meant to face. Chapter 2. The Road Erased from the World. The only person who knew how to reach the village was old Masato, the local headman who'd lived here nearly all his life. When Aya asked, he looked at her the way one watches someone willingly walk toward death. "You shouldn't go," he said, voice scraping like broken wood. "People spent years trying to forget that place. Why dig it up?" Aya answered honestly, "I want the truth. I want to know what made the villagers disappear." Masato exhaled, eyes drifting toward the red-stained mountains. "They didn't disappear. They were trapped. Forever." Aya froze. "What do you mean?" He just shook his head. But as she turned to leave, he called out, "Even if you find the path, you won't come back the same person." His warning echoed in her mind as she traced an ancient map, following faint markings where a road used to be. Finally, she stood before a faded trail, more a scar on the land than a path, half swallowed by roots and stone. The deeper she walked, the dimmer the light became. The air thickened, heavy like smoke. Then Aya realized. The sky above her was growing redder, glowing so intensely it reflected her own face on the ground. "This isn't sunset, it can't be," she whispered. "No sun. No fire. Just a blood-red dome of sky, cold enough to raise goosebumps." Aya stepped into the forgotten world. Chapter 3. The Houses Without People. The village emerged from the mist like a memory someone tried to erase. Every house stood still, wooden frames cracked and roofs fading, the windows half open, staring at her like hollow eyes. The strangest part, there were no burn marks. If this place had burned for 7 nights, there should have been ash, charred beams, collapsed roofs. But everything remained intact, simply abandoned. Aya pushed open a door. It creaked sharply, like a dying breath. Inside, bowls still sat on the table. Clothing hung on hooks, and dust blanketed everything. Nothing suggested the residents had packed or prepared to leave, as though they had vanished mid-life. On the table, a teacup had dried solid, leaves stuck to its bottom. What chilled Aya most, the cup was still warm. Her hand trembled. The room was still, too still. But as she stepped back outside, Aya was certain she saw a shadow slip behind the third house. She ran to look. Nothing. Only the lifeless roofs glistening under the red sky, like dried scabs. Aya shivered. Did they leave, or are they still here? Just not human anymore? Chapter 4. Whispers in the Wind. Night fell so fast Aya didn't even notice when the world dimmed. Moments before, the sky blazed red like molten metal. Now it was darker, thicker, like coagulated blood. Wind rose softly, carrying something more than sound. Voices. Standing in the center of the village, Aya felt her heart race. The wind carried faint murmurs. Go back. Don't let the fire see you. That night hasn't ended. She swept her flashlight around. The beam struggled through the red haze. Houses seemed to shift, leaning closer. Suddenly, footsteps echoed. Slow. Dragging. Aya pointed her beam toward the end of the road and froze. A woman in a white kimono stood beneath the ancient tree. Long hair veiled her face. Her stillness was unnatural, like a figure carved from ash. She didn't breathe. She cast no shadow. Aya stepped back. The woman didn't move, but when Aya blinked, she was gone. No steps. No trace. Only the whispering wind. You shouldn't be here? Aya spun in circles, searching, but found no one. Yet she knew she was no longer alone. Chapter 5. SAYO'S diary. In the largest house, Aya found a faded blue cloth-wrapped journal. Beneath the dust, handwriting remained delicate and soft, belonging to a young girl. SAYO'S diary, day 361. The sky is still red. Aya read page after page, her heart sinking deeper with each line. The sky turned red one winter night. The villagers thought it a natural phenomenon, until the shrine bell began ringing on its own, throughout the night, with no one touching it. Then villagers started disappearing. No screams. No blood. Their footprints simply trailed off into the road and ended in midair, as though they'd been lifted away. SAYO wrote, Father says it is the fire god's sign, that the old seal is cracking. The villagers want another sacrifice. I'm terrified. I don't want anyone taken. Near the end, the pages were stuck together, perhaps once wet with tears or smoke. Aya carefully peeled them apart. The final line trembled with fear. If someone reads this, please don't stay when the sky changes. That night never ended for us. At that moment, the red light outside deepened, flooding the room like thick blood. Aya turned sharply. The woman in the white kimono stood outside the porch. This time, her face was visible. She had no eyes. Chapter 6. The shrine at the edge of the village. Aya fled from the house where the eyeless woman had appeared, but the further she ran, the more she felt something clinging to her, like a breath brushing against the back of her neck. The village was unbearably silent, so silent that the crunch of her footsteps on the dirt path echoed unnaturally loud. The houses she passed seemed to lean inward, the dark gaps of their windows watching her every move. At the far end of the village, a thin bamboo grove appeared. Hidden among it was a small shrine, its wooden frame jutting out of the ground like a corpse half buried in soil. Strips of talismans clung to its doors, brittle and darkened, their ink smeared into indecipherable symbols. Even decayed as they were, they emanated a strange tension, as if the shrine was desperately holding something inside. Aya approached. The air here thickened, pressing against her skin like invisible fog. The faint scent of burnt wood and stale incense seeped from the cracks. When she placed her hand on the door, it trembled under her touch, as though someone were pounding weakly from the inside. Aya froze. A whisper brushed her ear, soft as a dying breath. Don't open? She jerked around. Nobody. Only the bamboo swaying gently. But Aya understood. She had stepped into a place where the line between the living and the dead had grown so thin it was almost transparent. Looking down, she noticed faint dragging marks in the dust, long streaks, with occasional gouges as if fingernails had torn off. The trail led straight into the shrine. Chapter 7. The night that burns forever. Drawing from the diary and the clues scattered around the village, Aya slowly pieced the truth together. For generations, the villagers worshipped an ancient fire deity, neither benevolent nor malevolent. A being of primal flame. Rituals had been held to keep it slumbering. But then something went wrong. A sacrifice was resisted. Panic broke out. The ritual was disrupted. The seal cracked. The deity awakened, but what it unleashed was not ordinary fire. It was fire that did not burn flesh, but souls. The villagers screamed, ran, clawed at each other, but death never came. They burned, but did not burn away. They lived, but were no longer human. Aya's hands trembled as she read. The crimson sky above was not a natural phenomenon. It was the reflection of their spiritual agony. A sky of trapped souls, burning endlessly in the moment of their death. She felt dozens of invisible eyes on her, pleading silently. Suddenly, a shrill scream tore through her mind, not through the air. A scream from nowhere, everywhere, and inside her skull. The eternal night of fire was starting again. Chapter 8. Sayo appears. When Aya returned to the house for more clues, a soft tapping sounded on the window. Talk. Silence. Talk. Harder, sharper, like fingernails tapping glass. Aya lifted her flashlight, and her blood froze. A pale face was pressed against the window. A young girl. Hair hanging in wet, smoky strands. Eyes glowing like embers. The girl whispered, "Did you find my diary?" The window slid open on its own. The girl floated inside, her feet never touching the floor. Her presence cold and heavy. Burnt smoke scent seeped from her tattered clothing. She touched the diary in Aya's hand. "Give it back, so I don't have to remember anymore." Aya stepped back. "You're Sayo?" The girl stared silently. Then she smiled. A mournful, broken curve of the lips. "I don't remember who I am." Ash drifted off her hair and sleeves, dissolving into nothing. Aya realized she wasn't facing a ghost, not simply. She was facing the last flicker of a soul trapped in an endless burning night. Chapter 9. The bodies that were never found. Aya fled the house, but when she reached the center of the village, she froze. Dozens, then hundreds, of figures stood there. Some tall, some small, some twisted, all eyeless. Their sockets were hollow black pits, smoke drifting from within, their skin cracked like sun-baked earth. A man stepped forward, reaching toward her with trembling, fractured fingers. "You're the first to see us, in so long." Aya stumbled back, but they advanced. A woman whispered, "Free us, please." Another voice, brittle as embers. "Free us, with fire." Red flames flickered in their palms. Not flames that burned matter, but flames that consumed memories, spirits, existence. Aya bolted. Behind her, voices cascaded. "Don't leave us. Don't look away. Let us be seen before we disappear again." It felt as though the village itself was rising, calling out, reaching for her. Chapter 10. The road that never leads out. Aya ran until her lungs burned, until her legs buckled, but finally, she saw it. The path out of the village. She stumbled toward it, crying in relief. But when she reached the end, she was back in the center of the village. She spun around. The path was gone. Desperate, she tried a different direction. Again, she reached the trail. Again, she dashed down it. And again, she returned to the center. It was as if the village was a maze folding in on itself, twisting space around her. In the center, she saw the ancient tree, enormous, blackened. Its bark cracked open like old wounds. Hundreds of claw marks scored its surface, deep, raw, torn with bloody desperation. Aya touched it. A whisper exhaled from inside the wood. "We tried, all of us tried to leave. But the tree always brings us back." Aya staggered away. She understood now. The village wasn't just cursed. It was a prison. And Aya had just become part of the trap. Chapter 11. The Truth of the Red Sky. Aya stood before the scorched ancient tree, overwhelmed by a fear too deep to name. The claw marks carved into its trunk ran so deep that in some places the pale wood beneath was exposed, like bone showing through torn flesh. The wind slid through the cracks, producing a trembling rasp that resembled panicked breathing, as though the tree itself had once screamed. Memories from SAYO'S diary returned to Aya in fragments, lines stained with ash. Words collapsing into despair, and everything began to make horrifying sense. The village had never been burned. Only the villagers' souls had. The eyeless figures she'd seen were not apparitions of death. They were the moment of dying. Frozen, repeated, unending. Souls trapped in the instant fire swallowed them from within. And the red sky above? It wasn't natural. It was the afterimage of their torment. A burning vault of spirits suspended in agony, unable to escape. Aya felt a sick heat pulse in her own chest, like a heartbeat that wasn't hers. A realization took root in her. If the seal had shattered from within, then only someone from outside the curse could rebuild it. But the one who once knew how had already died. Aya clutched SAYO'S diary tighter, her knuckles pale. Maybe the girl who wrote it was the only key left. Chapter 12, The Torn Seal. Aya returned to the shrine among the bamboo. The door trembled beneath her hand. Weak, frantic, like something inside was barely holding itself together. She pushed it open. A suffocating cold rushed out, stinging her lungs. Tiny statues along the path had cracked open, their broken mouths stretched like screams frozen midair. At the shrine's center lay a statue draped in a scorched cloth. Parts of it melted into brittle curls. Aya knew she had no choice. She pulled the cloth away. The shrine shook. Underneath was a figure, half divine, half demonic, its empty eyes carved deep, its skin rough like coal, glowing faintly through fissures as if molten fire slept beneath. A voice rose, not from the statue's mouth, but from everywhere. "You have awakened me." Aya staggered back. The world darkened. The bamboo outside rattled violently, shivering as though recoiling from the presence. "Did you come for flame, or for death?" The voice echoed. Aya forced her trembling breath into words. "I'm here to end the Red Night. If a life is needed in exchange, take mine." A low, crackling laugh rolled through the shrine. "One life cannot rebuild a seal. But your death would feed many more flames." The air behind Aya warped. SAYO emerged from the red mist, her eyes wide with terror. "Stop," she cried. "You don't know what you're doing. If you die, the fire will awaken again." Aya turned to her. For the first time, SAYO looked truly human, fragile, frightened, powerless. Chapter 13. SAYO cries for the first time. SAYO drifted toward her, each step leaving trails of ash. Burnt strands of her hair broke off and disappeared before touching the floor. Her ember-red eyes were no longer hollow. They trembled like someone on the verge of collapse. "Don't do this," SAYO whispered. "If you die, the seal won't return. It will break farther, and we'll all burn again." Aya saw something awaken beneath SAYO's fear. The faint, lingering echo of the girl she once was. "Do you know how to repair it?" Aya asked gently. SAYO lowered her head. "We must remember our deaths. But no one dares to. It hurts too much. It feels like dying all over again." Aya reached out, her hand passing through SAYO's cold form. Yet she felt a pain deep enough to pierce bone. "I'll stay with you. You won't face it alone." For a moment, SAYO just stared. Then, black tears rolled down her cheeks. Tears made of ash and char. She trembled violently. "Don't pity me. I've forgotten what it feels like to be human." Aya shook her head. "I still see you as human." The ash drifting around SAYO stilled. For the first time, the red sky above flickered, as if the eternal fire itself paused. Chapter 14, The Night of Judgment. Aya and SAYO stood in the center of the village. The sky churned violently, a blood-red vortex forming overhead. One by one, the eyeless villagers emerged from their homes, from corners, from shadows, drawn by something ancient and inevitable. SAYO lifted her face to them, voice trembling yet clear. "Father, mother, everyone? Please remember. We died long ago." The villagers shuddered. Some clutched their heads. Others collapsed to their knees. The air thickened as their memories, buried and feared, forced their way back. Aya shouted above the rising wind. "You weren't punished by God. You died because of your own fear, your own choices. If you want freedom, you must face the truth." A man crumpled, laughing bitterly through broken breaths. I remember. I pushed my son so I could run first. And the fire? It swallowed him instead. A woman wailed. I locked my doors. I wouldn't let anyone in. I was afraid they'd sacrifice my child. Their confessions cracked the air like thunder. One by one, their forms softened, breaking apart into glowing ash. The wind carried them upward, into the dissolving sky. Sayo watched them go, her tear-streaked face illuminated by the fading red. You've done it, she whispered. Chapter 15. Dawn that does not belong to Aya. When the final soul lifted into the thinning sky, the crimson hue began to drain, slowly at first. Then all at once, the village shook, its foundations tearing as if being peeled away from reality itself. The ground split, houses flickered like shadows, ready to vanish. Sayo turned to Aya, wearing the gentlest smile Aya had ever seen on her. I had to go. But you must return. Aya reached for her, but her hands passed through empty air. You can't come with me? Aya's voice cracked. Sayo shook her head. I belong to the Red Knight. Even if it has ended. She placed her hand over Aya's heart. And this time, Aya felt it. Warmth. Soft. Lingering. Go, before this place disappears. Aya ran toward the forest path. And for the first time, the road stayed straight. It led her out, cleanly. Quietly. When she turned back, the village was gone. Not ruined. Not burned. Simply erased. Only a clear blue sky remained. But on Aya's neck, a small burn, shaped like a child's hand, still radiated faint warmth. That night, as Aya drifted into sleep, a whisper brushed her ear. Thank you. But the Red Knight inside me has never truly gone. The sky over Akamine is blue again. The village of the red sky has vanished. As if it never existed at all. Only Aya remains, with a faint burn on her neck, and the memory of souls trapped in an endless night of fire. Some nights, when the wind passes her window, she still hears the familiar whisper. Thank you, but the Red Knight has never truly gone. And sometimes, within the red of dusk, she sees a single streak of light, the same color as that sky, as if the village is still waiting for someone to notice it again.
Like and subscribe to Whispering Dark Tales for more chilling ghost stories.